All right, well, let's get into, we will end our show with some buy or sell, right? We'll get final point at the end, but buy or sell is one of my favorite things that we do, brought to you by our friends over at Panini. Any of your trading card needs, anything, especially after that Arch Manning performance, you may want to rethink going after some Arch Manning cards. Okay, just telling you, buy stock now because he's not going anywhere and he's only going to go up from here.
Exclusive partner, from what I understand, too, as well, right?
Exclusive
For Arch
partnership with
Manning.
Arch Manning. That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one to have. All right, let's kick things off with this. In the division I pay a lot of attention to, the Vikings will have a new starting quarterback in 2026. Buy or sell?
I'm going to buy it.
Woo!
Here's
Okay.
why. Now, I will preface this by saying this. I was not a JJ McCarthy fan in the draft process. So this is not somebody that has lost my confidence. It's somebody that's never had it. I thought that Michigan and Jim Harbaugh did a very good job of isolating him within their offense. Yes, he was asked to do a lot in third and long because it was a run-heavy offense, but they really tried to isolate his usage, and it's carried over. Today, 12 of 19, 87 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks, 5 sacks, his third straight multi-interception game. He has 11 picks in his 6 starts. He's only thrown for more than 158 passing yards one time. And you start to think about some of the comments that Kevin O'Connell's making about, we're hoping that the concrete starts to dry and all this other stuff. It's not working. And I want to be cautious because he is such a young guy, but this is somebody that had a full redshirt year in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And so you do have to account for that he had an entire year to learn this offense. And by the way, same set of weapons, same coaching staff. He had an entire year to step into this situation. No, I didn't expect him to do what Patrick Mahomes did as a rookie, but you're seeing very, very few flashes and a lot of mistakes. And this is a Vikings team that fancies themselves playoff contenders. And this is a team that has gotten a lot. This is I'm going to bring up this name. They're different styles. This is their Trey Lance. They had a head coach who has excelled at reclamation projects and with veteran quarterbacks that he could trust to operate his offense within their offensive structure of the head coach. They took a swing with a top 10 pick on a young quarterback. They thought, okay, we can escape this every year or two having to bring in, or we had Kirk, we had Case Keenum, we had all these other guys come in. We can escape that route and bring in a young quarterback. And it's a quarterback that wasn't asked to do a lot or didn't have a ton of reps. In the case of Trey Lance, it was not a lot of reps in college. In the case of JJ McCarthy, he wasn't asked to do much in college. And they insert them into the offense, and they're just not able to execute it properly. And then they insert veteran guys, and they do a little bit better. I'm a little worried that that's what's going to happen here, that they're going to bring in some veteran competition, and a little bit like what happened with Trey Lance, where he slowly started getting pushed out in San Francisco. I can see JJ McCarthy slowly getting pushed out. If they, what if they bring in a Mac Jones? What if they bring in a guy that is in a similar offense that has really blossomed as a backup? Malik Willis is a free agent. What if, I'll talk about him later in the show, what if Trevor Lawrence becomes available in Jacksonville? What does Kevin O'Connell think he can work with that sort of skill set? There are a lot of there's even another free agent out there. I know we don't think about him anymore, but he's executed offenses well enough to get to the postseason. That's Jimmy Garoppolo was a free agent after the year. Now, we're not thinking about him because Stafford's healthy, but all of these pieces make me think that there's going to be a veteran presence. That's a better quality than when they brought in Carson Wentz to come in and be that veteran presence. And there's going to be a legit competition. And at the end of the day, I feel like this is going to probably end like it kind of did with Lance and Shanahan in San Francisco with the young guy just can't do it. Just give me the veteran and I'll get us to the postseason, especially with that defense and the fact you have an all-world wide receiver. I think that's where it's going to end up, unfortunately. And maybe that's not fair, but I after a complete redshirt season and your coach still feels like you're not picking up the offense, because that's what that means about all that stuff about the concrete drying. And, we're hoping he's not picking up even all of the elements of the game beyond the physical part right now. I can kind of see it going that way where he gets pushed out very slightly, becomes a competition. Maybe the veteran starts and all of a sudden we're looking back and JJ McCarthy's on another team somewhere trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And listen, I'm buying this as well. I really like JJ McCarthy. Probably one of my favorite interviews throughout the draft processes over the last few years. I just think this is the perfect storm of bad circumstances. You have what happened last year, and it it's not his fault, but it's what's going to happen. People are just going to constantly compare what Sam Darnold did
Mhm.
last year to this year. And it's not fair, but it is what it is, right? And that's going to constantly be brought up. And on top of that, you're talking about a very quarterback friendly coach, right? This is a guy who everybody really respects. So it's not a situation where you think about like Caleb Williams and Drake May, who both had freshman years where they were with coaches that weren't really seen highly as being
Yeah.
able to take on young quarterbacks. That's not the situation with Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell's a very, very smart offensive guy who
He
everybody really
was a
respects.
quarterback,
He was a quarterback,
you know?
exactly. And on top of that, you talk about the offense and the trio that they have. You could argue this goes up against any room and offense that exists in the NFL between Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, who you have at TJ Hawkinson,
Hawkinson,
Aaron
yeah.
Jones.
Jones,
I
yeah.
mean, they are stacked offensively when you look at who they have and on top of that, you got Brian Flores, who's one of the most respected defensive minds out there. It's really hard to make excuses for JJ McCarthy. And as much as I like JJ, I think that this is just, to your point, just a Trey Lancian experience that I hope for him they can quickly move off of him to go start somewhere else. Because
Yeah.
this very clearly, I think we're one game away from this being. I mean, today felt like totally off the rails. Like the
Yeah.
internet, the way he's being reacted to, the I mean, there's just a lot of comments. Even Justin Jefferson, who of all the wide receivers is the least diva. Like as good
Mhm.
as Justin Jefferson is, his body language, how he is, what he says, he's not a diva in any sense of the word, but just his body language of like, man, this sucks because it's not fun. You're not enjoying playing football. And that's not where any NFL team wants to be. And it
No.
sure as hell isn't where the Vikings thought they were going to be because they fancied themselves a Super Bowl caliber team. All right, next one here. The Patriots are poised for a long postseason run. Buy or sell.
Um, I
This
don't know.
reaction's priceless.
Here's why. I feel like December is going to tell us a story. There's this little stretch they have here where they go in, they have a really late bye, and then they go home against Buffalo and out Baltimore.
Mm,
I know you can only play the teams on your schedule, and I don't want to penalize them for just because they're beating the teams on their schedule. But I do wonder what's going to happen when they face a team as good as them. And what's going to happen with, Drake May. I was a huge fan of his coming out. I had him graded
yep.
higher than Jane Daniels. So I had him as number 2 behind Caleb Williams, and
Mhm.
obviously was again, that's not exactly, for most people, that's not exactly a huge deal. Those two guys were well thought of throughout the entire
For
process.
sure.
But I believe in what he is doing, but I also know it's gonna get harder for him, and I
Yeah.
want to kind of see it before I say a deep run. The thing that's going to help them in theory, which I actually think is going to hurt them, is that the AFC isn't very good. Now,
No, it
normally you're like,
sucks.
well, why is that going to hurt them? What if they're playing Kansas City in their first playoff game?
Thank you.
What if they're playing a wild card Buffalo team in their first playoff game? What if
Yeah, I'm
they're, you
not
know what I
taking
mean? Like,
I'm not
all of
taking
a
it.
sudden, it's like, yeah, maybe like normally you'd be like, oh yeah, cool. We're maybe a 1 seed or a 2 seed, and we're going to be
Mhm.
playing somebody. Well, yeah, all of a sudden those teams that are kind of hanging around at the bottom there have MVP quarterbacks and a lot of experience, and maybe you don't get
100%.
that bye, and you're playing the 7 seed. And what if the 7 seed's Buffalo? Kansas
I'm
City might not win their division. Like all
it's
this,
gonna be one of those 2. It's gonna be one of those 2, game. It's
right?
gonna
Like
be
I'm
one of
trying to
those
see it.
2, probably going to Foxborough to play him in a wild card game, and that's why I'm selling
Yeah,
because
right
they
now right now if they fell out of that spot, the 7 seed is Buffalo.
yeah, I'm not picking them against Buffalo.
It
I'm not.
scares
I
me.
just am not. And I get it. I understand what you've seen all season long, but playing in the postseason is totally different. It's totally different. And the AFC as a whole, as a conference, is down this year. You've seen it, and like you said, you don't want to fault people for who they've beaten, but
Yeah.
at the same token, it has to be accounted for, right? It has to be accounted for, and I think that's where I still have my trepidations with this team because it's just, and trust me, you're not going to find a bigger Vrabel fan. That's my
No.
homie. I love Vrabel. I knew he was going to be a great coach. And I think they took such a massive leap forward.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah.
you cannot expect. Patriots fans are so far past delusional because they've lived in a Tom Brady world their whole lives. And so their expectation is, well, this is just Tom 2.0. Like, look at what we've got. We're
No.
just going to go on this. And it's like, guys, you had the greatest quarterback of all time. That recipe, like, I feel pretty confident to say it's not going to happen again. Like, you're not going to go win 6 Super Bowls again over the next 20 years.
No.
If it happens, I'll be happy to come back on the internet and say I was wrong. Okay. But I doubt that that's going to happen. I think Drake May, I really like. We all really liked him, but I cannot look at this team right now and say that I feel if Kansas City or Buffalo is going to Foxborough on wildcard weekend, I'm not picking them to win. I'm
Yeah.
not. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
who it is.
Tremendous progress this year. I don't think it's fool's
Huge.
gold. I think this is legit. You're
100%.
asking a lot for this, not only make the jump that you made, but then to make a long postseason run. I know the Commanders did it last year, but it's not impossible. They are well coached and
No.
they've got a lot of good pieces. And it looks like the Will Campbell injury isn't going to be as bad as we thought, which helps.
Well, that's good.
And
That's a
Jared Wilson
massive.
as well. So, they were talking ACL at one point. It looks like it's just a sprain.
Okay.
But still, I think you're asking a lot. But I do think this is a team that we are talking about as an elite team next season. But I think this is the year you get in. Maybe you win a playoff game, but I don't see this team quite yet playing 2, 3, 4 weekends into the postseason.
No, I do not. And Vrabes, I'm just gonna say ahead of time, don't come text me and be angry about
Be
this whole
happy.
situation.
I'm
Just
happy
be
to be
happy
wrong, but
be happy that you're 10-2, baby. Okay,
yeah.
10-2. That's great. And if you prove us wrong, we will gladly come and own it on a show in February. All right, next one here. Colts will not win. They won't win the AFC South. Buy or sell?
I'm gonna buy this. Feeling a little spicy here.
Ooh, this is spicy.
So right now they're up 1 game on Jacksonville, 2 on
Yep.
Houston, and they play both teams twice. Their stretch is really rough. You got Jacksonville twice, Houston twice, and then San Francisco and Seattle.
Yikes.
You are 2-3 this season, the Colts, against teams with winning records. All of those teams have winning records. So now you're in a really interesting spot of it's not that I don't believe the Colts are good enough to be a playoff team. I'm not saying what they did in the beginning of the year is completely out of the picture. This Daniel Jones doesn't look like the same quarterback since he got hurt. He's another one that's definitely feels like he's not playing at 100%. I do not know what the hell Shane Steichen was doing in this game, particularly late, when you have Jonathan Taylor in the backfield in a lead and you had 4 straight drives where you not only did not score, you ran twice combined on the last 4 drives of your game and your loss today when you lose in overtime. I just
That's
don't.
mind-numbing.
Yeah,
It's
it really
mind-numbing.
is. I still think the defense is, while there are pieces getting better, obviously you added Sauce Gardner, Leatu Latu looks like he's really blossoming so far this season. I still think it's just an average defense at best. I just have a little bit of concern about what this team has looked like over the last little bit. I have a little concern that Daniel Jones is more banged up than we're being led to believe. And I'm also concerned that you have a really tough schedule down the stretch. And look, I don't know what Jacksonville team you're going to get on a given week. I don't know what Jacksonville team you're going to get in a given quarter, but that's still going to be a competitive game for you. Houston has their issues, but one issue they don't have is playing damn good defense. And they're going to cause hell for that Colts team. And the Niners and Seahawks are both playing really good football and both fighting for playoff positioning themselves. That's a really tough stretch to go down. And it's odd you see this many division games for one team. I mean, but this is where the division is going to be decided. Those 4 games against those 2 teams. I'm going to say the Colts make the playoffs, but I don't think they win that division. I think one of Jacksonville or Houston ends up catching them because they have those head-to-head games still to play.
I like it. I'm going to buy as well. I agree with you. I think this team, I don't know what Shane was doing. That was a very problematic way to lose that game. When you have what, for my money, this year has been the best running back in the NFL and Jonathan Taylor, I don't know what you're doing. I don't.
Yeah.
And you had the champs on the ropes with the opportunity to knock them out and you didn't do it. And I think that killer instinct as a coach, it's missing. And I think that's the difference between kind of this first time being in this spot to a guy like an Andy Reid who's been there, done that, and knows how to win, right? And I
Yep.
think that's where I look at this team and I go, okay, I think they've still got some things to figure out. And I think they've taken a massive step forward. You've obviously seen a resurgence of Daniel Jones. You can win with him, but I agree with you. I think he's got a lingering injury. This defense has played good. But when I talk about the Houston Texans defense, I talk about the best defense in the NFL. That defense is good enough to make Davis Mills look like a
Yeah.
competent quarterback because they're putting that offense in such a good position. I mean, it is, as somebody who grew up in Chicago and have spent my whole life just bowing down to watching great defense, this Houston Texans defense is like one of the most enjoyable things for me to watch in the
Yeah.
NFL right now. They are so talented. They are so good. They are so violent on the football field. It is crazy to watch them. And I think they probably have the best chance. I don't know about Jacksonville. They're just
They're a
Jacksonville.
fascinating team. Just
They're
everything about that team
fascinating
is
is a
strange.
nice word, Jamie. That's a really nice
Yeah.
word. Okay, we will end with this one. JSN, our boy, Jaxon Smith-Njigba, will become the NFL's first 2K wide receiver. Buy or sell?
I'm going to buy. I'm going to be fun. I'm going to believe in it. This is a guy that I loved coming out of Ohio State. He was the wide receiver 1, in my opinion, in that 2023 draft. I know there were other sexier names that people were talking about at the time, guys like Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnston, but JSN just does everything well. And with DK Metcalf gone, he has gotten the opportunity to be the everything receiver. And I mean everything. Look at some of these box scores. He is the guy. So far this year, he's got, by the way, 11 games in the season, he's already the Seahawks single season leader in receiving yards in a single season. Like, it's crazy. Past DK Metcalf on Sunday. He is averaging 119.4 receiving yards per game right now. He needs to average 114 and a half in those final 6 games to get there. So he is on pace for it. I'm going to be fun and say he does it.
I love it.
If he stays healthy, this offense runs through him. Seattle has everything to play for the rest of the year. They're not going to have any sitting in week 17 type games. No. He is going to be a focal point and an elite player for that offense the entire rest of the year. They move him around in ways that it makes him hard to cover. You know, you can't just double him and because he's used a lot in the slot. He's used a lot with free releases off the line of scrimmage. He wins at all areas of the field. If he stays healthy, I see no reason why he can't continue on this. As crazy of a pace as it is, obviously the extra game helps, but
yeah, for sure.
To me, I'm going to go for it. I have seen he hasn't really slowed down like at all this year. I'm all for it. I know he was a guy that I met through Panini, actually. Very good young man. Somebody you want to root for in general, and also supremely talented, as it seems like anybody that comes out of that Brian Hartline, Ohio State pipeline right now.
For sure.
I think he's going to do it. I think we're going to get our first 2,000-yard wide receiver this year in Jaxon Smith-Njigba.
I am smashing the buy button.
There we go.
I'm smashing the buy button, and I go back to that time when you met him as well. I did an interview that time frame with both Garrett Wilson and Jaxon Smith-Njigba. And Garrett Wilson, who is a supremely talented, a wide receiver that unfortunately has the displeasure of playing football for the New York Jets, okay?
Yeah.
But is one of the supreme talented wide receivers in the NFL. I asked him when we had just finished our interview, I said, of all the guys that have come out of Ohio State, who's the best? And I didn't even get the question out before he said, it's him. And JSN kind of had this, like, he really is such a good kid. He like kind of smirked, but I was like, come on, man. Like, you know how great you are. You know how great Marv is. You know how, like, Lave, he was just trying to and Garrett was like, hey, cut it. Enough. Like, it's you. And that's, you always see teammates put on for themselves, but when you talk about a position group that's very competitive about who's better, you usually will hear a guy jaw, hey, it's me. I'm definitely that guy. He's great, but I'm the dude. And I was like, okay, I'm very interested in this conversation with JSN. And then I talked to Brian Hartline about it. And when you talk about him, the two that he spoke most highly about were Emeka Egbuka and JSN. And to be fair, he was right. Those are the
Yeah.
two most complete wide receivers that have come out of Ohio State, and they have put out some spectacular ones. And you see what they do on the football field. I think what you accounted for, he's just got to continue what he's already doing. And
Mhm.
I think if you know Sam Darnold and the type of ball he likes to play, they know that this record, they know what they're on pace for. You can't tell me that they're not going to try and give the ball to JSN more. He accounts for 47% of the Seahawks' total offense right now. It is insanity. I
Yeah.
have never seen he knows he's going to get the ball and the defense just can't do anything about it. And that is amazing to watch, and it's spectacular. A great young man we both had the pleasure of being around. It's always great when you can root for a kid that you know is a good person. And honestly, if he was playing in the not West Coast, this would be getting a lot more attention
Yeah.
than it's getting right now. And he
This
deserves a lot of attention because he is spectacular what he's doing right now.
He should be getting the same attention that guys like Justin Jefferson were getting when he was on
Thank you.
that crazy run,
Thank you.
as well. But, also, so something to note, eligible for a contract extension starting this offseason. So this will be the first time that he's eligible,
Back up the
early in that
Brinks
rookie
truck,
deal. So,
Seattle.
I believe he's going to be there for the long term. But yeah,
Yeah.
I just what he's doing is amazing. And oh, by the way, gotta give Sam Darnold some credit. Some of those receivers, bet you Justin Jefferson wishes Sam
100%.
Darnold was still throwing him the ball.
Yeah, no kidding. I bet you he'd like to I dream a genie that back and get him
Uh-huh.
back in Minnesota to be his quarterback.